Around 1200 BCE, the most advanced civilizations on Earth fell together within a single generation. No common enemy, no single cause, just an interconnected world that had grown too fragile to survive what came next. Across the eastern Mediterranean, a lattice of great powers once stretched from Egypt's Nile to the citadels of Mycenaean Greece, the Hittite heartland of Anatolia, and the bustling port cities of the Levant. These societies were bound together not just by diplomacy or war, but by a shared economic system known as the palace economy. Here, the wealth of kingdoms flowed into monumental storerooms, grain, oil, wine, and above all, metals. Bronze. The foundation of armies and agriculture depended on copper and tin shipped from distant mines and delivered through intricate trade routes that crossed both land and sea. Ration tablets from Pylos, copper ingots stamped with Cypriot seals, and grain tallies from Ugarit's archives reveal how kings and their scribes managed every shipment, every worker, and every feast. This web allowed goods, people, and ideas to circulate with remarkable speed for the time. But such tight interconnection came at a cost. When one link failed, the shock could ripple outward, threatening the entire system. Radiocarbon dates and tree ring analysis now anchor the destruction of Bronze Age cities to a narrow window. At Hattusa, the Hittite capital, beams from the western gate were felled around 1190 BCE, buried beneath a thick layer of ash and collapsed stone. Alalak's palace tablets end abruptly, their clay still carrying the fingerprints of scribes interrupted by fire, with dating on charred remains clustering near 1190 BCE as well. In the Levant, Hazor's monumental walls and temples fell beneath a distinctive red and white ash layer, with olive pits from the ruins returning dates within a decade of Hattusa's end. Across the Aegean, Mycenaean centers like Pylos and Thebes show destruction levels, collapsed masonry, ash-filled halls, and storerooms frozen in time, converging from 1180 BCE to 1150 BCE. Cyprus, too, saw its coastal cities gutted by fire, their trade abruptly halted. These burn layers, confirmed by both radiocarbon and dendrochronology, reveal a pattern, a rapid, basin-wide wave of collapse, not a slow unraveling. The evidence points to a crisis that swept through the interconnected world in less than half a century, leaving no major kingdom untouched. Inside the ruined palace of Ugarit, archaeologists uncovered a cache of clay tablets, their cuneiform impressions preserved by the very fire that destroyed the city. Among them, the last letters of King Amurapi offer a rare window into the crisis as it unfolded. In one plea, he writes, "The enemy ships have come. My cities are burned. The grain is gone. There is no one to help." These words, hurriedly pressed into wet clay, reflect the panic of a ruler watching his world unravel. The sealed archive, dated by radiocarbon to around 1190 BCE, was found in a layer of ash and collapsed brick, a silent witness to the city's final hours. Ugarit's fate was not isolated. As a hub for copper, tin, and grain, its survival depended on open harbors and steady trade. When the sea routes failed and the granaries stood empty, Amurapi's desperate appeals went unanswered. The letters capture both the bureaucratic machinery of a palace economy and the very human fear of abandonment. In the ruins, the baked tablets endure as testimony, not just to the fall of a city, but to the sudden vulnerability of an entire interconnected world. Egyptian temple walls at Medinet Habu show carved reliefs of foreign warriors arriving by ship, their shields raised and ox-drawn carts trailing behind. These attackers, known to later historians as the Sea Peoples, have long dominated popular accounts of the collapse. The inscriptions boast of Pharaoh Ramses III's victory over them around 1175 BCE, describing waves of invaders burning cities along the coasts. Yet when archaeologists sift through the destruction layers across the region, the picture grows complicated. Some sites, like Ashkelon and parts of Cyprus, bear signs of sudden, violent assault. Others, including key inland cities, show no clear evidence of invasion at all. The identities of the Sea Peoples remain unresolved. No single language, homeland, or unified group has ever been traced in the records. While the Medinet Habu reliefs capture the fear of seaborne raiders, the archaeological pattern is patchy, and many scholars now question whether these attacks alone can explain a collapse that swept across so many different societies. Lake cores drawn from Anatolia and Cyprus register a sharp drop in water levels beginning around 1200 BCE, matching a rise in evaporite layers and reduced carbonate deposits. Stalagmite samples from Sorek Cave in the southern Levant show a shift toward drier conditions, with oxygen isotope values pointing to decades of diminished rainfall. Pollen records from coastal marshes near Ras Shamra reveal a landscape turning from woodland to scrub, signaling declining crop yields. Tree ring sequences from Anatolian oaks capture a series of short, poor growing seasons between 1220 BCE and 1180 BCE. Together, these proxy records chart a period of sustained aridity that would have strained harvests and granaries across the region. While drought alone does not account for the collapse, the evidence suggests it acted as a force multiplier, tightening the pressure on already vulnerable palace economies and amplifying the effects of trade disruption and social unrest. Storerooms once filled with grain and copper stood empty, their tablets abandoned mid-list as scribes vanished from palace corridors. In the Hittite capital, the royal archives broke off in unfinished accounts, and the burnt remnants of Hattusa's magazines signal a sudden end to central control. Across Mycenaean Greece, palace economies faltered as tin shipments dried up. Alloy analyses reveal a sharp drop in tin content and a surge in recycled bronze, with weapons and tools repeatedly reforged from dwindling supplies. Workshop debris at Pylos and Knossos shows how standardized production gave way to makeshift repairs. In Egypt, the state survived, but emerged diminished. Pharaohs could still muster armies, yet records from the period describe fewer foreign campaigns and shrinking tribute. The collapse played out differently in each center, but everywhere the same pattern appears. As trade routes broke down and storerooms emptied, the machinery of palatial power ground to a halt, leaving cities abandoned or smoldering, and the old order swept away. When complex worlds fracture, no single cause explains the fallout. Today's global ties run just as deep, and no society stands immune to shocks that strike all at once.